Hi, I'm Mr. Blonde,
And I'm Mr. Red.
and welcome to the Reservoir Vault,
Yeah,
where we're some dogs getting together to review a movie.
woof woof.
Yes, the movie is Reservoir Dogs, which was made in 1992, and it was directed by none other than the one and only.
Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, so Mark Wahlberg, really, you think of him as being a big actor in the late 90s and early 2000s, but before he started, he directed this little movie called Reservoir Dogs, starring Quentin Tarantino, who became a big actor later in his career.
Oh, wait, I meant to say Quentin Tarantino.
Oh, shoot, I should have flipped those people.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, and actually Mark Wahlberg had nothing to do with this movie.
Yes.
This movie is Reservoir Dogs, directed by Quentin Tarantino, and yeah, this movie was released in 1992, and it made $3 million on a $1.2 to $3 million budget. So not a huge, maybe net, maybe a small
Yeah,
gain.
I mean, you split it up, everybody gets $100K, you know?
I mean, the point is, this movie did not cost that much to make, and there wasn't a lot of skin in the game. But for Quentin, this would be the kickstart to his career.
In fact, this whole movie basically took place from a single warehouse.
Wow. Is that true? It is true.
Yeah.
Other than the warehouse, it only took place in a couple other places.
Like a restaurant, and then that's...
And it's got to be one of the only bank robbery movies that does not actually have a bank.
Or a robbery.
No,
Shown.
yeah. Neither of them are shown, but lots of stuff about it is implied, and we'll dig into that. So next, we'll get into Botched, Watch, or Top Notch. I'd say watch right away, because it's Quentin Tarantino's first movie. And in my opinion, it's probably sort of somewhere in the middle of his movies. Like I'd probably rank it like fifth or something.
The thing is, I'm not going to say that I couldn't have not done without this movie. So I very much like it. But I don't think that it's, that scale of like, if you watch this or if you don't watch this, then you're going to die. So I'll give it a watch.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah. Although I would say this movie is not for the faint of heart.
Ben started crying at a few parts.
Yeah, there's a lot of blood.
Yeah, especially
Quentin Tarantino does not like using like huge amounts of blood in his movies generally, so it was quite shocking to see him, do that.
Yeah.
He's never done that ever in his career.
In fact, he uses less than the normal amount of blood.
All right. So the quote of the movie is, expletive. I mean,
It's hard to find it's very much saturated in, what should we call these?
the vulgar language.
Yes, vulgar language.
Yeah. So, but there was one. Was there one thing? There's one line in there that was pretty funny. It was like, "Oh, how many real people did you shoot?" And he was like, "Oh, I didn't shoot any," because he was referring to police officers and he wasn't referring to them as real people. So that was kind of funny thing in there.
Although at the same time, this movie makes you really feel that this one police officer that's being tortured is real.
You feel bad for police by the end of the movie. Their job is hard because both of the police who are like major characters in this movie end up dying.
Spoiler alert.
In a very like gruesome way that I would not. Yeah, it's just terrible.
Yeah.
But the plot of this movie is kind of confusing because it's told in a non-linear storyline, which again is a staple of Quentin Tarantino movies. So basically what's happening is there's these bank robbers, and their job, they start the movie at a diner just kind of talking so you can kind of get to know the characters. And then we see the aftermath, which is that one guy got shot. Several guys have panicked. There was apparently a big shooting at the scene of the crime that we don't exactly know what it is, but it turns out it was like a jewelry robbery. And Mr. Pink and Mr. White, along with Mr. Orange, are back at the warehouse. Mr. Orange has been shot. Mr. White is trying to take care of them, and Mr. Pink is sort of a loose cannon who happened to have grabbed the diamonds that they wanted. And so he's trying to theorize on who was the rat, because obviously the police couldn't have shown up that fast and with that many people if not for somebody being a rat. So they spend a lot of time arguing over who the rat is until Mr. Blonde shows up. Me, Mr. Blonde.
There's actually no Mr. Red.
Actually, of all the people in the movie, I would not want to be Mr. Blonde because
He's a terrible guy.
Michael Madsen plays probably the most heartless character in this entire movie, and there's not a lot of characters with heart, I would say. So to win that.
There's a few, but you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. White has the most sensitive side. Like he's actually trying to save the guy's
Mr.
life.
Orange, yeah.
He actually cares about him. A lot of the other people don't seem like they do.
He's the only one risking his life for someone else, like in a selfless act.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, besides the cops,
where
know.
Mr. Blonde has kidnapped a cop, and they all think it's a good idea to bring him into the warehouse and like try to beat him up to get him to tell them things. But this cop knows nothing. But we go through the backstory of each of the characters. So Mr. White just happens to be somebody who knows Joe, who's the guy leading the whole thing. Then we meet nice guy Eddie, who's Joe's son.
Sorry about that.
And he tends to run the more person-to-person sort of organization where Joe handles like the higher level stuff. And then Mr. Blue and Mr. Brown, Quentin Tarantino actually plays Mr. Brown. They're shot like we don't see them being shot, but they're dead.
Which makes me wonder why they included their characters.
So that there would be people dead, and so Quentin Tarantino could tell his story of what Like a Virgin is about, which we can't.
Right, yeah.
You have to watch the movie, but he has a very interesting theory on what Madonna's song Like a Virgin is really about. So if you're interested in that, just watch. You can just look up the opening scene on YouTube, although viewer discretion advised for mostly language.
Yeah. I mean, like we said, it's a very, very saturated solution of vulgar language and a very big jug of shooting and blood.
Yes, if you were to like censor this movie to appropriate levels, there'd probably be like 3 seconds every like 10 minutes that you could show.
It would be the one scene of him cutting the cop's ear off, and that's it.
Yes, and that's where we're getting to. Michael Madsen's character, Mr. Blonde, decides to torture the cop, but not for any particular reason, because he doesn't think he's going to get any information out of him, just for fun. And he cuts his ear off while dancing to Stuck in the Middle with You by Steelers Wheel, which is a very good song, and I didn't know about this song until I watched this movie a couple years ago. And I've actually listened to that song quite a bit since then, so I don't know what that says about me. I've listened to it.
Just imagining torturing people.
I don't think of the ear torture scene anymore, though. I used to, but like now I just think of it as like the song it is. But it's a unique scene because they don't actually show anything, so but that's almost worse in some ways, as people say, because you can imagine how awful it is. And then he like pours gasoline on him. Fortunately, Mr. Orange shoots Mr. Blonde like 10 times. Everyone, when they shoot in this movie, shoots a ridiculous amount of bullets.
Yeah,
like they are so scared that the person they're shooting is going to somehow wind up still being alive.
You'd rather live in that moment than die in that moment and not have a next
But
moment.
the thing, after all these dead people, there ends up being a Mexican standoff. I think that's what it's called at the end of the movie, where there's Joe and nice guy Eddie, Mr. Orange is somehow involved in this, and Mr. White, all pointing guns at each other. So Mr. White is a fan of Mr. Orange at this point, and he wants nobody to shoot him. Joe wants to shoot Mr. Orange, and so nice guy Eddie has to try to shoot Mr. White, or have his gun on Mr. White.
Just to protect his dad, though.
To protect his dad. So his dad doesn't have his gun pointed on anybody with a gun, but if you can understand how that all works. At any rate, they all shoot each other. Somehow. I was trying to figure out how Mr. White shoots both Joe and nice guy Eddie, because there's nobody pointing a gun at nice guy Eddie.
But did Mr. Orange have a gun out?
No. He had shot his gun.
What about Mr. Pink? He was behind there.
Yeah, but he didn't shoot him. It was like 2 shots from Mr. White. I'm pretty sure he did.
Mr. Pink could have
been
in on it.
Mr. Pink gets away, and then the cops come, and then for some odd reason, before the cops come in, Mr. Orange admits to Mr. White. There's these names who we know his real name's Larry. That's one guy we know his real name.
And
Mr.
they're not
White.
supposed to tell each other their names.
Yeah, that was a big thing. Like he told his name when he shouldn't have. Mr. White did to Mr. Orange. Mr. Orange says he's a cop, and so feeling betrayed by this, Mr. White decides to shoot Mr. Orange right as the cops are coming in, and they tell him to drop his gun, but he shoots him, and then he gets shot dead by the cops, and everyone's dead besides Mr. Pink. So Steve Buscemi always wins in the end.
Although I didn't say my tagline, I forgot. If I had to make a tagline, it would be, "This is a Crayola box of death."
Yeah, I mean, that's actually a very good one.
Thank you.
Like, you could make a shirt that was like a Crayola box of death, and then you have, honestly, there's cool movie posters for this because they put like each, they just have like each silhouette of each person in like a different color.
Oh, that's cool.
Like, I don't know if you've ever looked into like minimalist movie posters, but those are pretty cool. I haven't actually purchased any because they cost a lot, but they're just like movie posters that have really simple images.
Yeah.
And the one I saw for this one was pretty cool. But Kathleen Carroll of the New York Daily News was not as big of a fan of this movie as I am, at least. I don't know about Zach. So I was trying to see what score she gave it. Yeah, 2.5 out of 4. Is that really a negative review, though? 2.5 out of 4?
Yeah.
That's over half, though.
For Kathleen. You
I
gotta follow Kathleen
that,
closely.
That's what Rotten Tomatoes says, so we're going to agree with it. Because she says, the exaggerated raw violence of Reservoir Dogs leaves one feeling cheated on in the end. For this movie isn't really about anything. It's just flashy, stylistically daring exercise in cinematic mayhem. Thank you for your pessimism, Kathleen.
Yes, we appreciate it. That's what we live for.
Yes, and we also live for insurance.
Yeah.
And specifically Hedman Anglin Insurance. So you can get it from Hedman Anglin Agency to save money on your auto, home, and business insurance. And if you're running an underground gang, I guess you probably won't be able to get insurance, but maybe you have a nicer home because you're getting a lot of money from that underground organized criminal place.
Yeah. Or if you have a car, and it's a legal car that you bought legally, then get some legal insurance so that at least one part of your life is legal.
So maybe you can get some insurance money if you happen to like need to get rid of a car and you're just like, oh, I lost my car, and maybe you'll get insurance money back. I don't think that's how it works. But at any rate, we think you should call Hedman Anglin Agency at 614-486-7300. That's 614-486-7300. And tell them that me or Zach and I sent you.
No, just Zach.
Tell them that Zach sent you because Zach, I like insurance, but Zach loves insurance.
Dude, insurance is my life.
And you know what else is our life? Using our 10-point scoring system.
Let's use that for all the transitions today.
You know
what else is our life? The end. Closing the vault is our life. All right,
the only time that we're truly alive is when we are out, when we're doing movie reviews. Otherwise, we're just like, you turn our batteries off and we're just.
Yeah, you guys don't want to imagine me and Ben and I outside of the movie vault.
It's super boring.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I don't know. I'm just gonna sleep
Ben
too
and I
because
just
I'm
fight
really tired
all day.
Yeah.
But then we get our act together before the movie vault.
It's like every week we're like, are we gonna be able to do this? Like it's this close to cancellation.
Yeah.
But
every week, but it pulls through every week too.
Yeah.
And it somehow.
And we always argue about what movie to watch. Everyone has very strong opinions.
I always want to watch a documentary about Shawn Mendes. Ben always wants to watch Saw 3. So
I don't know. Like, I don't know how that is, but we decided to get a combination of the two.
Yeah, so we watched 15 minutes of Saw 3, then 20 minutes of Shawn Mendes.
No, if you think about it, Reservoir Dogs is like a combination of Saw, the torture, and a Shawn Mendes documentary because it has Steve Buscemi in it. Oh wait, that wouldn't work with Shawn Mendes.
I have no idea what you just meant, but yeah.
No, anyway. Yeah, this movie does have Steve Buscemi in it, though, who is one of my favorite actors of all time, which is pretty random, but like...
What else is he in? I've seen him before.
He's in Monsters, Inc.
He is! Wait, is he Mike?
No, he's the bad guy character.
Randall?
He's Randall.
Wait, no, he's right. Yes, that makes so much more sense.
And he's also in The Big Lebowski, and then he was in a lot of Coen Brothers movies that I haven't seen yet. Miller's Crossing, Barton Fink, Hudsucker Proxy, those are all. And then he was in Fargo, which he's one of the villains. He
was in Monster House.
Yes, that's the one that I know him from. But honestly, and he was in Big Fish. He had a character in Big Fish. So like
Hotel Transylvania.
The Death of Stalin is probably the best movie I've seen him in, and this was like a relatively newer movie, 2017. He was probably the leading character. He was one of the leading. It was more of an ensemble cast, but he was incredible in that movie. I'm pretty sure I've talked about it before, but it's very underrated. Like nobody knows about it, but it's such a good movie. But we should actually start scoring this movie and not The Death of Stalin.
Yeah, you know what else is our life? Scoring movies.
You know what else is our life? Steve Buscemi.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, I saw this TikTok where somebody had a belt that had Steve Buscemi's face on it, but I can't remember why. Like, I was like, wait, what is happening?
Steve Buscemi.
Maybe it was that. But anyway, sentiment is our first category. And I give this movie an 8. It's a little higher than it should be comparatively to my Tarantino rankings, because I think I would rank like Pulp Fiction, and I'm trying to think what other movies. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, The Hateful Eight, and Inglourious Bastards over this in terms of Tarantino movies. But this was the first one I saw, and it's his first movie. So, like, this is the first one I watched, and it was pretty intense. I think I saw it, like, when it was on Hulu, like, 2 years ago, maybe. And I don't know whether I really knew what I was getting into, but I liked it. I liked what I saw, so now coming back for a second watch, I thought maybe some of the parts weren't as, like, new and interesting since I've seen his other movies, but I still liked it a lot.
Yeah, I gave Sentiment a 7. This is because it is my first time viewing it, as Ben has talked about this movie nonstop for the past year. So
Actually, have I brought this movie up really at all?
you're like, well, when you first watch this movie, you're always like, oh, dude, I love the first scene of Reservoir Dogs.
I do love the first scene of Reservoir
And
Dogs.
so I watched the first scene on YouTube, so I'd seen that part. But besides that, I think it was really intense. So I like intense things. You know, I'm an intense guy. So like,
He's that sort of guy.
yeah, it's just who I am. You know, it's just Zach. So I gave it a 7. Yeah.
Yeah, I gave Message a 5.
Yeah, I guess I could see how it was confusing.
Oh, I didn't get it, I guess.
No, I didn't get it either. I gave it a 7 to act like I got it.
Oh, but yeah, I don't really think there's anything to get. This is one of the movies that it's a real problem rating it, because there's no way to, if you're going to say this movie has a message, it's kind of a stretch.
Let's stretch. Okay, I think that this movie could imply that, you know, when you get into that type of business, that means that, like, you yourself are going to probably have those situations come up where, like, you get an ear cut off, or you die, you know, or, like, you get shot, or, you know, you just get in really intense situations by living that life. So it should be a movie that makes people want to live healthier lives.
Yes, and it also teaches you how not to pull off a bank robbery, which is every mistake that they made.
But it also doesn't show how to, or it doesn't show how not to, because it
Yeah.
doesn't show the bank robbery.
And it's also just like, wow, these people are really bad, and that's awful. And there might be real people in real life who are like these people.
In fact,
But they're
are.
probably not as cool. That's the thing. Because the thing about Quentin Tarantino movies is that if we ever do Pulp Fiction, like that Pulp Fiction is like this movie on steroids in some ways. Like, there's the most random stuff referenced. Like, they'll just be having a normal conversation and they're referencing some like 70s TV show or movie, and like everyone's supposed to know it, and everyone's like, oh yeah, that TV show. It's some, like, Quentin Tarantino is such a nerd, like, and he looks kind of like a nerd too, to be honest. But to like know all of these different references, like, that's the whole point of all the movies he makes, is just so he can like show off how much movie knowledge he has.
That's kind of meta.
He's like, yeah, he is a meta filmmaker, and he's also like a filmmaker's or film lover's filmmaker, which is, I think, why film lovers like him, because he's one of them. He just happens to be also making movies, because his story is that he was a film clerk, and somehow from that he became a director.
The only way he goes too far is when he starts referencing his own movies.
Yeah, he's not the only director I've seen do that, though.
Yeah.
Lars von Trier, in the movie The House That Jack Built, has a montage at the end of the movie that features scenes from his other movies.
Like reenactments of
No,
the scenes?
like actual scenes, actual footage.
Why did they?
I don't know.
What was the context?
I can't remember why it was in there. It was The House That Jack Built's a weird movie, but it ends with like allegory of Dante's Inferno, and then there's some part where he's like replaying scenes that were like, definitely. I haven't not seen all of Lars von Trier's movies, nor do I plan on seeing all of them, because some of them are like make this movie seem tame, in all ways.
Oh no.
I'm pretty sure. So, but this movie was like it just had this huge montage at the end, and there's this scene at the end of Melancholia. Like I'd seen that movie right before I watched it, and I was like, oh man, Lars von Trier has to be one of the most full of himself directors on the planet. And yeah, you can tell. You can tell when directors think a lot of themselves, but that's also why they're directors. Because if they didn't have such strong visions and believe in them, the movies wouldn't be as good. So maybe that's the message we're supposed to learn. Like maybe there's supposed to be some like meta narrative that you're supposed to read from Quentin Tarantino movies. That's not. I feel like it's not really about the movie. It's about the making of the movie, and that's what you're supposed to learn.
There should be some good movies out there made by wimpy directors, though.
Who would be a wimpy director? I'm trying to think of like Ron Howard. He doesn't seem like he's a strong personality, but he made Solo. He made Solo, and like didn't he do like A Beautiful Mind or something?
Yeah, and he was in Arrested Development.
Yeah, he was the narrator, right? Yeah, but he does, when you hear him talk or you watch him on Happy Days, he doesn't seem like he's like
strong,
a Quentin Tarantino type person. Quentin Tarantino is just somebody who just says stuff and like it might sound like he doesn't necessarily empathize with other people real naturally, I don't think.
Probably not, especially since in his latest movies, Flamethrower.
I also listened to a 3-hour podcast episode that was just him and Edgar Wright talking about movies, and I felt so bad for the guy who was supposed to be like interviewing both of them because he did not know as much as they did about movies, and they were like just talking about these like random 50s British films that I've never heard of. And they were like, oh yeah, Martin Scorsese emailed me and I watched this list of 50 movies. I was like, wow, if only everyone had this much time. But that's how you become a director, basically, is you watch a ton of movies and then you hope that you meet the right people and that you're good enough, and just be confident in yourself. I've never done it, but I can already tell you how to do it. So that's the message. I don't even know what we're talking about at this point because this has almost nothing to do
with
the
message is being a director can be tough, but it can also be easy. You pick your route.
You pick your route. Yeah. You could just be born into somebody, like in the family of somebody who's a director. It's a lot easier then. I mean, just look at the guy who directed Malcolm and Marie. Pretty sure he wouldn't have been a director. Sam Levinson. Yeah, he's not that good. Sorry for all you fans of Euphoria out there.
Oh. All right.
Let's see. Plot. I gave Plot a 7. It's good.
I gave it higher than you, Ben. I gave it a 9.
Holy cow.
Yeah, I liked the plot a lot. I thought the fact that the plot was all implied.
Yeah, that is true.
None of it was shown. And I get like the plot itself is the talking, so maybe that was like more, it was like less exciting. I don't know, whatever. But like the fact that it was like derived from something that isn't actually seen, I thought that was really cool because that was like the first time I experienced it and seen that. So I mean, like the whole movie, for people who haven't seen it, it's like they're talking about this robbery that went wrong and like trying to figure out what's happening, like right after it happened. And it never shows the robbery, but they just are talking about this thing the entire movie. It's just talking about this robbery that went wrong. And then like the implications of like, who's the rat? Who's lying? You know, like what's happening? Like who shot who and everything. And I thought the plot was like really good because it kept me on my toes, even though I've never even seen this robbery, but I could visualize it. Like I could visualize what was happening because each person had their own perspective and attitudes. So I think when it came to that aspect of the plot, it was very new for me and very refreshing to see that, just because I mean I can see someone like getting shot all day. I'm desensitized. I'm Gen Z, right? Whatever.
Yeah, we see people getting shot all the time.
Yeah, it's on the news and stuff. Whatever. So for me to not hear about the shooting, but like hear the ideas and the implications about it, that's a deeper sense of what happened than if I were to actually just watch it. You know, because every movie shows someone getting shot or a robbery going bad. But this movie describes the implications of it. So,
and honestly, that's probably I didn't really think that much about plot when I was giving this number, so maybe I would have given it.
I mean, I thought it could have been in something else though. I didn't know what to put it in.
Since I knew the plot, maybe I'll also like I was like, oh, I know sort of what's happening, so it doesn't give you as much of the surprise as the first time, which is sort of unfortunate when movies are like don't have as much rewatchability because of that. But the good thing about this movie is there's a lot, because it relies so much on dialogue, which is Tarantino's strength as a director in general and a writer. That then you can enjoy it for the dialogue even when you know what's going to happen. So I think that is a huge strength of it. And honestly, a lot of the best things for directors happen when they're limited by their budget. So a lot of people think you have to have a huge budget to make a good movie. And to be honest, this was a $1.2 to $3 million budget. Like, that's still a lot more than a lot of people get, especially like in 1990. It was probably be a little bit more now. But the fact that he was able to like maximize what he could do with that money is what made it good. So just because you have a half $1 billion budget or whatever, however the highest, I don't even know whether they go to that high of budgets, but like 350 million or whatever dollar budget, it'll probably mean you'll profit, but it doesn't mean you'll make a good movie, because you have to know how to use that budget the right way. And this happened with Christopher Nolan too, with Memento, in my opinion, is that he was sort of constrained by what he could do. Now he can do whatever he wants, basically. And sometimes people are like, get over like stimulated and stuff by like how much he's trying to do, where he could really just like focus on the thing that he was trying to accomplish in Memento. And that really goes strongly for Reservoir Dogs as well, even though Tarantino has made some pretty good movies going forward. But that's one thing that this movie will always have, and Pulp Fiction to some degree, that the other movies that he's made don't have. All right, so character arcs?
Yep.
I gave them a 7.
Yep.
Because
Same.
like they go through all of them in detail, so it's like you can't give it worse than a 7.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. Of course, they're trying to characterize like 8 different people in this movie, whatever, something like 6 or 7.
We never saw Mr. Brown's backstory. I'm still upset about that.
It was Mr. Brown is Quentin Tarantino, for those of you.
Or Mr. Blue. He was the most for like he had.
That's what I was saying. Like, why would they include
something.
Mr. Blue?
Yeah, that didn't make a lot of sense, unless they were going to use the song "Mr. Blue Sky," which they didn't.
Mr.
So.
Blue Sky.
I guess they
got hit in the car. I don't know.
Boom, boom. Oh, we don't even know how he died.
Yeah.
And he looked old. Like, I don't know. He was just a weird character.
Ew, he looked old.
Ew. I don't think old people should be robbing banks. I guess that makes me ageist. I don't know. I'm just kidding.
But yeah, I think it's good. Like they really have to focus like each part of the movie on a different character, so you don't get too deep into to a lot of characters. But for the time that you have with each character, you really do get deeper than you should. You know?
Yeah. That scene in the middle of the movie with Tim Roth's character, Mr. Orange, and he's training under that guy who's like the police officer training him to be undercover, is a really well done scene that develops his character while also accomplishing like how he established himself into the group. And it shows how he is like learning this story, and he starts as like just reading it as a script, and then he turns into where he's like so convincingly telling the story that he's actually sees himself in the scenario, even though the story never actually happened. I think it was called The Commode Story because it's about this guy who goes into a men's restroom with a brick of marijuana, and there's like 4 cops and a drug sniffing dog, and somehow he gets away with it because the cops are incompetent, which I don't know. The relationship between cops and the rest of society is an interesting takeaway from this movie, but you can't read into it too much, I don't think, at least in this movie, because all of the people who are talking about cops who aren't cops are people who definitely should not be on the good side of what cops are trying to do.
Yeah, these are the people that are killing the cops. You know?
These are the guys who are bad, who the cops are trying to get. Not so anything that they say about why cops are bad is sort of hard to believe.
It's a little biased because cops are stopping them from stealing the jewels. You know,
they're stopping them from ripping off other people. Yes.
Yeah. Anywho.
Anyway, cinematography I gave a 6 because I don't know.
Yeah, I gave it a 6 too. It's just compared to his other ones.
Yeah, he doesn't have the equipment at this point or the quality.
You're in a warehouse. There's not great lighting.
It's not bad, but some of the scenes were set up kind of in a way that is not super like it doesn't necessarily draw the viewer in, and there's not a lot to see other than blood, and I guess that's all you need to see. But like there were some good moments, like when they're moving the camera away during the ear torture scene, and it sort of just goes to the corner of the room. I thought that was interesting because it draws your attention away from it, and then you're just staring at this random corner. They could, I don't know. It was a interesting angle to take. Obviously, I know why they like shifted the camera away, because they didn't probably want to ever. I don't know what the rating would be if you could actually see what was happening, but you could definitely insinuate it in your head just enough. Any other thoughts on cinematography?
Yeah, I mean, there's a really good shot where this ear was being cut off. No, I'm joking. It actually, Ben was right.
There was a really good shot where he was like talking into the ear and saying, "Hey, can you hear me?"
After it was detached.
After he cut it off. Yeah, so a little bit of dark humor in this movie.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I don't know. Like you said, there wasn't even a single amazing shot that I saw, but overall, like, it wasn't poorly shot. I mean, you're in a warehouse too, so like nitty gritty, you know.
Yeah, yeah, but all of it was like set stuff, or like it seemed like it was on a set. Maybe it was in a real place. I don't know. But
it probably was a real place because they went all around.
They went outside,
and they showed all four corners of the building.
True.
Because in the standoff at the end, it's that
I wonder
corner.
where they shot it at then. I mean, it was clearly supposed to be in L.A. So this movie's in L.A. His first three movies are in L.A. and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So that makes sense because I guess Quentin Tarantino is from the L.A. area. Originality, I gave an 8. So this is my new way to segment it. Is just very abruptly go into the next category.
Yeah, you know, originality is my life. I gave it a 7.
It's a very original concept in some ways, mostly from a technical standpoint, not necessarily from a idea standpoint, although I don't know that it's probably based on some 50s crime movie in terms of how they like get all the people together in the team, like, and then everybody has their mission and maybe there's code names. Like, that doesn't seem too crazy.
Has there been a movie before where it doesn't show the event and then they kind of...
I think that is something that Tarantino definitely, like, because that was the big thing with Pulp Fiction too, was the non-linear storytelling. So he just takes what he did in Reservoir Dogs and ups it because he gets a higher budget and he gets Samuel L. Jackson. But in this movie, he had pretty good cast in this movie too. I like the cast in this movie because it's a bunch of just random dudes who like had somewhat successful careers in Hollywood, but none of them were like super successful. But it's like a bunch of guys you're just like, oh, I want to root for this guy. Except for like the old guy, I think he was kind of annoying to work with on set.
But I liked his character.
His character was good.
Yeah.
I remember from other reviews I've heard of this movie that they were talking about how much they wanted to fire him, I think, because he was that hard to work with. But yeah, Harvey Keitel. Oh, we're not in acting. I'll get into Harvey Keitel when we get into acting. That's actually the next thing. Do you have anything else to say about originality?
No, I'd say, well, okay, yes. I say no as I'm about to say
no,
something.
but I'm about to... Yeah.
It's such an Ohio thing.
Yeah. It is. Actually.
No, so like you said, getting the group together wasn't that original, you know, like you said, there were many movies where you just kind of bring a ragtag group together of agents, whatever, these
criminals,
bad boys
to do a job.
Yeah, but I think the storytelling was original, so that's why I gave it a higher. So 7's kind of higher.
Even the dialogue, although I thought somewhat the dialogue, because of the vulgarity, was a little lazy, because when you have that much, we were kind of talking about it, we're like, it just since it's so much, it kind of fills in gaps in the script and makes it seem kind of weak. But there were some funny parts. I think he definitely writes better in the future, though.
Yeah, if you're using the F word every 12 seconds, like for every word, you know how Smurfs say like, "Oh, Smurf you later," like Smurf you over there. Like they just use it for every word.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it's like.
You know, and it gets kind of annoying because it's just like, is this the only word that you know how to use, like the F word? And it's weird because like that's very common for a lot of people like in the
Yeah,
world.
I guess Zach and I aren't as much like that. And I'm not necessarily saying like it's fine, I guess, if that's your way of speaking. Although in more professional settings, it might not suit people as well. But a lot of people can turn it on and off, I guess. But it is interesting when you're actually thinking about it, like to think about like what it actually accomplishes or whatever. Because you could just be saying or like Zach and I do
All the time.
and I've been thinking about it a lot. Actually, this is a good segue because I'm consciously thinking about how much I say like, but it just slips through. And just sometimes you just can't like. Now I'm doing it on purpose.
Liking is my life.
The word like is my life, bro. Send help. Okay. Now I'm repeating Zach, so that's also lazy. I'm talking about how lazy the writing is, and then you listen to our podcast, you're like, Ben just repeats Zach. Like, Zach will say, oh, this is cool. And I'm like, yeah, this is cool. Okay.
Oh my gosh, I'm so tired.
Yeah, we're really tired. So if I feel like it's kind of coming through in this episode how tired we are, especially me. But
especially me.
We're getting through it. Acting.
We're getting through it.
For you guys, we're doing it for you.
We're doing it for you.
I gave acting a 7 because it's good.
No, I gave acting an 8. I thought it was great.
Okay, actually, you're right. I mean, although I thought Harvey Keitel was kind of hard to watch. Like,
which one's Harvey again?
He's Mr. White, who's arguably has the most lines. The way he said things was just sort of like. Although some of it was really funny. You know, when the car scene where he's like, "You're gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay."
I didn't think it was bad.
It wasn't bad. It was just I've seen him act better in other movies, I think.
No, I didn't.
But Steve Buscemi was incredible. Yeah, I should have given this higher.
He's my favorite in all this.
Yeah, this movie is the movie that made me fall in love with Steve Buscemi.
Well, the thing is, like, I didn't think anyone fell flat at all.
No, you're right. Nobody fell flat.
I didn't even think
other than Harvey Keitel a little bit.
I guess I just don't know Harvey.
Michael Madsen killed his role.
Yeah,
like as the crazy guy. Now Michael Madsen, given he can't play a lot of notes, which is why I don't think his career took off. Like this is kind of the character he can play, basically.
What psychopath?
But he's very good at it. He's very convincing. So I enjoyed seeing him in other Quentin Tarantino movies. He's in Kill Bill Volume 2 and The Hateful Eight, and he's pretty good in both of those too, I would say. These days, he pretty much only does Quentin Tarantino movies because Tarantino likes to have he's like the Coen brothers like that. He likes to have the same sort of people to work with.
It's like a family.
It's like yeah, I guess so. Or he just sees something in the act. He can bring the best out of certain actors. That is Tarantino's strength. Like Samuel L. Jackson isn't in this movie, but this is a good example because I think this cast shows a lot of their talent was elevated by working with Tarantino, where they might be sort of okay on their own. I guess Harvey Keitel maybe not so much, but the other people, they're okay on their own. But like this elevates them to a higher status. Samuel L. Jackson is a really good actor. He's in a lot of stuff. He's probably the highest grossing actor of all time. But when he's with Quentin Tarantino, he just takes it to another level. And every movie that I've watched that he's in, which he's in most Quentin Tarantino movies in some way or fashion, especially probably Django is probably his most impressive role, just because it's the most, like, you don't even notice that it's Samuel L. Jackson because he's playing an older guy and he just plays the part so perfectly. But that's just an example. Like, generally speaking, like, how many movies are you like, oh, Uma Thurman is amazing in, besides Quentin Tarantino movies? Like Kill Bill, Pulp Fiction. Like, she's iconic in Tarantino movies, but outside of that, she's kind of okay. Like,
what's that Fall Out Boy song? You wanna dance like Uma Thurman.
I knew that song before I ever knew what it was about, and then that was what made me. I was like, what is this song about? And then I was like, oh, there's this movie called Pulp Fiction. Oh, this looks really cool. And I watched it like 5 years later. It went. Yeah, no, I watched it like 5 years later though. Like after, because I at that point I wasn't allowed to watch Pulp Fiction. Are you kidding me?
Are you allowed now?
I don't know. I'll have to ask my parents. Hey, Zach, am I allowed to watch Pulp Fiction?
No, go to your room.
Okay.
All right.
All right, style. I gave style a 7, although it's a little dingy. A little dingy.
I gave it a 7 too. It was just like, it's just existing. Like, the style was just kind of like
Practical?
Yeah. It's like, he's not going to do that. Oh, he cut his ear off. What? He's not going to shoot him. Oh, he shot him. What? Wait,
Whoa.
why are they arguing? Oh, wait, they're going to argue.
Wow,
oh,
this guy's in a huge puddle of blood. And it keeps getting bigger.
Like a new guy walks in, you're like, I bet this guy's a jerk. Walks in, he's a jerk. So, it's just like, it's some parts are predictable. Some parts are surprising. But I think that's the strengths of it. I don't think that the style necessarily was what it was known its best for. And
although in some ways, if you think of the style as the way that they put together the film, it is what it's best known for.
Yes, but I'm talking about everything. We talk about it as a conglomerate.
Not just as like how you edited together the movie and the storyline. Like that's plot, so we don't talk about that necessarily all in style. Although I think the music meshed well with it, which it was interesting how Tarantino always has these like wacky soundtracks that like in the movies it was like somebody's songs of the 70s, this radio station that was just playing 70s songs, and everyone knew all the songs. And
Ooga Chaka.
That was the only one I would have known before I watched it the first time. I have listened to the other songs, especially mostly Stuck in the Middle with You and Little Green Bag by George Baker's Selection, which is a good song. Looking back on the track with never mind. For a little green bag. I just like messed up the words, and then I was like, I want to go for it, but I don't want to go for it. And I'm also not that good at singing.
Score
8. It's good.
7. I thought it was good.
Yeah, I actually really like this score. I'm trying to think. Is there a better Tarantino score than this one? Can't think of one.
Didn't you like the last Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Okay, that was good. But I don't think it was I don't know that one stood out as much as this one did.
Is Quentin's scores not as great as Edgar Wright's?
Oh, that's a hard question. It depends on what you like. I personally I feel like I don't normally do this, but I feel like I should give this one a 9 because I talk about the score a lot. Like the soundtrack, I guess, at least the soundtrack part, like how good it is. But then again, I'm going back to an 8 because the outside of the soundtrack, there's not really a score.
Yeah.
So I'll just stick with my guns. It's an 8. It's good. The Hateful Eight score is really good, but it doesn't have as good of like sound. It doesn't have songs, so.
But that one's better than this one, you'd say.
I would say like the score is. I don't know. It depends on whether you think of it as like score.
What about mix of both?
What would be the best mix of both? Probably this one or Pulp Fiction. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Email me what you think. What is the best Quentin Tarantino score for all those of you who have watched all of his movies, which I know Brian has. I don't know that anybody else has.
I'm getting there.
He's getting there. I'm pulling Zach there.
Yep. Takes me 1 per month.
1 per month. Choreography. Why did I give choreography a 6?
I gave it a 6.
Okay, I guess that's fair. It's not that amazing.
I mean, what are we talking about necessarily?
Steve Buscemi running.
That was the most awkward thing ever.
He's so funny. Steve Buscemi, you don't get to see young Steve Buscemi that much because he didn't really become an actor until he was older. He was like a firefighter before this. I've read like a GQ article about him. He's a really interesting guy. He kind of has a similar story to Pete Davidson. Wait, why did I say that? There's something about him and Pete Davidson. I forget. But maybe it's just that they're from the same area and they both had... Pete Davidson's dad died from being a firefighter in 9/11. But I don't remember what Steve Buscemi's connection to that was. But there was something. It's an interesting article. You should read about him. But he's very attractive in this movie. At least I thought so. In a weird sort of way. He's a weird looking guy. But like in this movie, it's sort of like a good weird looking.
Mr. Pink works it.
Mr. Pink works. In other movies, but he can play other characters like in Big Lebowski is Donnie. Shut up, Donnie. The whole movie. Wow. What a guy. So
please be on the podcast.
So
Stevie.
I rated this movie Steve Buscemi out of 100. No, I'm just kidding. 69 out of 100. Can I get a nice
I got a 71, so I think it's one of the fewer ones that I'm surprised I ranked Reservoir Dogs higher than Ben.
Yeah, I feel like I kind of went a little like hard on this movie rating wise. Like I actually really like this movie a lot. Like I'm pretty sure it's in my top 50.
I would have never expected to go over Ben's rating in this for how much he talked about this.
Yeah, maybe sometimes the second watch you're just a little tougher on it. Maybe other Tarantino movies, being the Tarantino connoisseur that I am.
Well, anyway, this brings us to a combined score of 70%.
Yeah, so go watch this because we obviously liked it.
Yeah.
So for those of you who are listening to this whole podcast to figure out whether, oh, you just listen to the first 2 minutes and you know. Okay, Britta moments with Britta.
Perry.
And don't complain about the song being bad because that's the whole point.
Yeah, stop complaining. We got 90,000 complaints this week.
Yeah, but they're like, Ben is horrible at singing. And
But they're like, Zach, he could be the next American Idol.
yeah.
And I was
They're
like,
Zach.
I know, but like, I got a career for me, you know, like.
Yeah, we
I
have
gotta
this
stick
mic.
to the ground.
We could basically become musicians at this point.
Yeah.
I'll walk a lonely road. Okay. That was a Britta moment right there.
That's like the third time you've sang in the microphone in this one.
I'm in the sing-song type mood, guys. I don't know what to tell you.
Next thing you know, you cut someone's ear off.
Yeah, I mean, that's the next progression, but yeah, hopefully I won't get there. Let's see. What plot holes were there? I mean, I don't know. It seemed like it was a pretty well put together film.
Yeah, but why would Mr. Orange tell Mr. White at the end that he's a cop?
Yeah, that part was like, how did they not figure that out? And,
He killed himself.
why did Joe's like, I wasn't 100% on him, but I still hired him. Well, why did he do that? Like, did he really need Mr. Orange? Like, how many people did they need for this job?
Yeah, it's Joe, right?
Yeah, was there
Joe
not
does not seem like the type of guy to hire someone that he's not 100%
for this
on.
job too? And how could, like, there was no other people? Was everyone else in jail? He couldn't have hired that Alabama lady that Harvey Keitel was talking about, who he used to like date and like rob banks with.
And
They
other
were like
stuff.
regular old Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm
So
not sure.
it's just like maybe stupidity of the characters.
I guess he didn't want anyone to know each other, so that limited his options. Except for that nice guy Eddie and Mr. Blonde knew each other, but I guess nice guy Eddie was technically not.
Well, nice
included
guy
in that.
Eddie. Nice guy Eddie also knew that Mr. White's name was Larry.
Well,
'cause
they
at
all
the end-
everybody knew his name was Nice Guy Eddie too. So
So I think nice guy
So
Eddie
he's-
was his son, so he was in on it.
yeah,
too.
he's in on it. So he's not one of the.
But it still doesn't explain how dumb Mr. Orange was for telling Mr.
And how
White
dumb Mr. Blue was for existing.
Yeah,
in
and
the
Mr.
movie.
White for telling everybody his
My
name.
life is all about Mr. Blue because I'm the one who's forgotten and shot. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, then I'm Mr. Pink. I get away with it. I'm the only one that survives.
The only one who survives and the most annoying one.
Yeah, well, I don't even think he was the most annoying. I think he was just the most like.
He was whiny.
He was whiny.
I loved him, but he was whiny.
But he was concerned, you know, like he
Yeah.
was trying to get out of there, and he was like more rational.
He was actually like pretty on top of it. Other than they all didn't understand. They all thought that the cops were gonna come, but since Mr. Orange, they almost should have realized that Mr. Orange was the cop by the fact that cops didn't show up, and that there was no way he could alert the cops because he was impaired. So I'm not sure why they need to go through all the trouble of, bringing out the cop from the car. Also, how did he take the hostage? What was he doing? Like, what
was he doing at the
I
bank
guess he
robbery
probably
to get
just
a hostage?
he probably just grabbed the guy and put his gun to his head and then put him in the trunk, right? Like, he wasn't.
I would have rather.
He
died,
wasn't like
man.
carrying. I don't know.
That guy got tortured.
That guy was. It was horrible, and he ended up getting killed anyway by
Right.
a nice guy. Nice guy Eddie wasn't so nice.
He really wasn't. He seemed nice in the beginning.
Who played nice guy Eddie? Chris. Somebody. Let's see. He played
Chris Penn.
Chris Penn. Yes. I'd love to know what these other people were
He's
in.
in
I guess.
Footloose.
I guess we'll do that as part of who we're in the stock market. I guess if we're onto that. Sorry, Britta, we're done with you. Harvey Keitel is on the tail end of his career, so I wouldn't. But Harvey Keitel, you gotta watch the movie Mean Streets. That is a movie directed by Martin Scorsese that stars Harvey Keitel as the leading character and a young Robert De Niro, with one of my favorite Robert De Niro performances too. it's just an overall incredible movie. So Keitel has done some really good stuff.
Tim
But-
Roth, the Mr. Orange, he's also Abomination from The Incredible Hulk.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have not seen The Incredible Hulk, but Tim Roth, Michael Madsen is in other Quentin Tarantino movies, as I mentioned. Chris Penn was in
Footloose.
True Romance. I think that's Quentin Tarantino somehow involved with that movie. You know, The Wildlife, The Funeral, Footloose. He played somebody in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas.
Yeah, GTA.
Yeah, but his career's fallen off too, so I would have hoped I wouldn't have Who would you have invested in though, like purely from like how they performed?
Steve Buscemi.
Steve Buscemi. And he has probably had the most successful career of most of these people, I would think.
I would not have invested in Quentin Tarantino though.
Really? As a director?
As an actor.
Or as an actor? No. He keeps putting himself in his movies and he keeps sucking. He's not that good.
I think he knows though.
He's at the end of Django as an Australian cowboy, and he's terrible. You're just like, this movie was so well made, and then you just stuck yourself in as a speaking role.
But I think he did that on purpose.
Yeah.
Like, he knows he's bad.
I think if Quentin Tarantino, his last movie, this is what needs to be, okay? A movie where he directs, and it's about a movie maker that he plays as the starring character who loves movies and makes movies about loving movies. Because that is the most meta thing I can think of.
Yeah, but Abed already did that.
Did Abed already? Is that how I came up with that idea?
Yeah, Abed did that. Remember, he does a video. What is he pretends to be like Jesus or something, and he's like making a movie about how life is a movie.
Yeah. Oh, I guess I need to revisit that Community episode.
He doesn't actually pretend to be Jesus. Just he wears clothes like it, and he pretends that life is a movie, but like it looks like him.
Yeah, I guess if you're trying to pull off the most meta thing, it's hard to do it over Community because they've probably already done it.
Yeah.
That's why I love it so much, though. And that's why I love Quentin Tarantino. What is the obsession with things being meta, though? That's what I like. It's a thing with our generation, and I like it a lot too. Like everything being so self-referential or ironic. Like it seems more sophisticated
because we can't just have normal things happen anymore.
Yeah, it's like we've already seen normal things happen, so now we need to be self-aware of the normal. Like it's not good enough to just be lost in a movie. The movie has to have some level of like being self-aware that it is a movie for us to enjoy it.
No,
but we're self-aware that the movie is self-aware.
Well, we got to the point where we're just watching movies, and then we'd like to have agency in the movies. You know, like we want the movies to like have some form of identity or agency that we can relate to. So then we're kind of relating to like numbers and code, you know?
Yeah, it all comes down to numbers and code.
Yeah.
Although some movies nowadays are just, they feel sort of algorithm based in that they have an algorithm and they're like, what is the most appealing thing to all audiences? And they just put it into an algorithm and then they spit it out and they get Tom Holland and Daisy Ridley in Chaos Walking. So also I'm a bit like Quentin Tarantino in that I do reference things a lot. So I try, like, that's one thing, like things remind me of things, so I always point them out. But a lot of people that I know haven't watched the exact same thing, so they can't necessarily keep up with what I'm referencing because they obviously haven't seen the exact same movies that I've seen.
If only everyone had a chip to download.
Yeah, what if we didn't even have to watch movies? We just had a chip in our brain, and we already knew what the movie was like. You didn't actually spend 2 hours watching it, but you already knew everything.
You wouldn't
about
be
the
able
movie.
to savor it. It would just be something that you know, and it would be like a sensation, a quick sensation.
That's true, but that's what everything is now, a quick sensation.
Yeah, but then you'd have to make 19-hour movies, so then it would take an hour and a half to download, and then you'd have a movie-long sensation.
That would be so fascinating. 19-hour movie that you could watch in an hour and a half. I don't even know if that's a thing that's possible. It's just interesting.
Hey, Marvel's trying it.
Marvel's like, we're going to make
that's their phase 5 schedule.
Their phase 6 is like, we're in virtual reality. You are in the Marvel universe. You're not in real life anymore.
Yeah, it starts out as movies, and then they go to TV shows, and then DNA downloads, and it's like And then they take each person's DNA and put their own Marvel Universe superhero inside
Pretty
of
soon
them.
you are a superhero in a fake universe that you don't know that it's basically the Matrix. You think you're a superhero, but you're actually just somebody in a chamber.
Zach Leewald streaming on Disney Plus August 25th, 2027.
Zach, what would your superpower be?
Telepathy. No.
No, I'm not asking what you want it to be. I'm just asking what it would be.
Mine would be controlling chemical reactions.
And mine would be...
so anything.
I don't... Oh, well, yeah, you're right, actually. I don't know what mine would be. I'm not good at anything.
Yours would be lame. It would be like... You can only... I don't know.
If you didn't notice, I was
turn into a bunny.
I was begging for affirmation from Zach, basically by saying I'm not good at anything, and he was just like, "Yeah, yours would be lame." I'm like, "Oh, thanks, Zach. Yeah, that's what I wanted to hear."
That's why we're friends.
Actually, that is why we're friends.
Yours would be you can talk to plants.
I can talk to plants. Guys, you shouldn't do that. This plant over here is telling me something. Ben, shut up.
You'd be like
You're
the
so
Lorax.
Stupid. Plants don't know anything. No, Jimmy, the house plant. He really thinks that there's a problem over here. No, shut up, Ben. Last time we followed a house plant, we went on this long adventure and almost got killed. Oh man.
You would be the Lorax.
I would be the Lorax.
I speak for the trees.
Okay, I don't know how the podcast got to this point, but...
Well, I would use chemical equations to literally create anything.
So you could create plants that I could talk to.
Or I could turn you into a plant that humans could talk to.
That's true. You could do that. It would just... I mean, the world will be looking forward to when Zach can control chemical equations to that extent. But until then... I guess it's probably time to say what our social medias are, even though we're supposed to say that at the start of the episode. And we forgot to do it all together, I think, last episode. So follow us at Movie Vault Pod on Twitter, at the Movie Vault Pod on Instagram. Email us, themovievaultpod@gmail.com. And literally anything, I should probably check it because I haven't checked it in a while. But if I haven't checked it, I'm sorry, and I will get back to you soon. And if nobody emailed us, please just somebody email us and leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and write something and do all of those things.
Rip our ear off.
And listen to our podcast on 7 different devices at the same time. I'm just kidding. You don't have to do that. That's kind of cheating.
No, you do. It's not cheating.
I guess it's not cheating. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Time to close the vault. Steve Buscemi.